It's Re-Up Alex.
It's BMO.
And Imani Grace.
And it's the Re-Up Podcast. She's going to talk to us about the Black struggle, progression, culture, her travels, where she's going, where she's been, and a deep dive into vocals. It's actually our first vocalist on the show, so we're very excited to chat.
Yeah.
How you feeling, man?
What's up, man?
Doing good, man. Another day, another dollar, as they say.
Why do they say that?
Why they say that? Because
you're tied. Your life is inextricably tied to the capitalistic rotation and pressure that constantly inundates and traumatizes your life.
Yes.
And you subscribe to that?
Yes.
Why?
Why? Because I got a puppy to feed, bro. Come on.
Wow. Because I have a puppy to feed.
A puppy to feed, man. He eats real person food, so should get a little pricey. It's a little pricey, man. So what you want to talk about today, man? What you got?
Well, we got our first film guest today.
Okay.
It's been 1.5, maybe plus seasons.
Yeah.
We got our first lady.
Episode 15.
Episode 15.
Episode 15. Let's talk about what is the proper term here? We've offline we've talked about this a few times. I think woman is a nasty term to use. Man, it just goes back to.
That's very like second wave feminism right there, but I feel you.
No, I just really, I don't know. And then girl. Mm-hmm. I guess that's kind of a calling term. I feel like as well. So we've been saying femme.
Yeah,
I think femme. But hey, who am I to say?
Well, I've been saying femme to include the multitude of gender representations. Today we have a woman guest. She is also a femme. Right? Mm-hmm. But that's why I've been using the term, not because I necessarily believe that the word woman is a nasty word or girl is negative, although I hear what you're saying, because like again, the second wave feminism, maybe third wave feminism take is that why do you need to express femininity with men or man within the context of the word? So woman describing the opposite of man or the adjacent gender to man, of course. I've seen other spellings. So you got woman with this like WOMB YN. So it's like womb. Oh. Right, woman. Okay. But like these are all just different interpretations. But I would say I'm careful to say that woman is a nasty word. Mm-hmm. I heard this term recently called like the horseshoe analysis or horseshoe theory analysis. Is that like two people on opposite spectrums of a particular issue, like a horseshoe, they still meet still at the same point. Still meet in the middle, while you have arrived to the point, I would say like a liberative progressive point where you have arrived to the point where you think like woman is a nasty word. You know who's also saying woman is a nasty word? Misogynist. Y'all are saying the same thing. Yeah. You are saying it more so in like, there's a bigger field, there's a more progressive way to express this. Mm-hmm. And they're saying, fuck these bitches for real.
Damn, he already said it.
Right? But like, that's not where you're coming from. So I feel your sensitivity. But that's actually why I wanted to have this pre-conversation before Imani came on. Because like, I'm also in a place like, if we too sensitive, I feel like that's equally offensive.
Too sensitive, that's equally offensive because it's not allowing a hard conversation to happen.
Yeah, why would I not, if I was pushing our guest yesterday, why would I not push our guest today just because?
Yeah, we don't need to put the handicap on.
No.
Yeah.
Although I do think I'm very curious about how we've been operating in a very male-centric energy. I'm very interested on how today's conversation is going to go.
Male-centric energy. Hey, I didn't do that on purpose, man, because like we've actually talked about that before on the podcast. It's like it made me realize how male-dominated the music industry is. Yeah. Because it's like I'm over here like, okay, I'm gonna get like, the coolest people who I can think of who are coming to town, people in my Rolodex of contacts, and invite them on the show, and they all happen to be guys.
Right, I understand.
I
understand. Yeah. This was not an indictment upon our our show casting so far. It's more so on what I have come to understand in women is that their conversations, their perspective on life has been socialized to be a little more different.
More detailed.
Right.
More detailed.
That's what I have known. Just like if there was a acceptable what's it called? Generality about, is that the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Generalization. I think it's right. If there was a acceptable generalization I could have about women, it's something that me and my homegirl talked about. She said that men are telescopes and women are microscopes. We both have vision, but as you even said, it like big picture versus attention to detail.
Yeah.
And then if we believe in like the divine feminine and the divine masculine, then we come together and we balance each other out.
The divine masculine.
Yeah, of course.
That's the thing too?
Yeah.
Shit.
You gotta dip into your divine masculine, baby.
I'm not hip.
Yeah, you gotta be secure. But anyway, we're not gonna go that deep. I'm saying that to say we've been very masculine. So when we ask dudes questions, you could probably tell it now. We've been interviewing for a while. We'll ask a question, but it still take a little bit to pull like fine details. No, tell me how you met, where you met them. I'm very interested if we're going to have that type of conversation, and I wonder if we'll be in my theory, if we'll be trying to pull her more telescopic while she is microscopic.
Interesting.
I'm very curious.
Okay.
Very curious.
I'm excited.
Episode 15.
Episode 15. Let's see what else you got for me, BMO.
What's your philosophy on women?
What's my philosophy?
What's your philosophy on women?
From what sense?
We don't really talk about women.
We don't really get into that. So what are you talking? Are you talking like a relationship aspect, or like what? Like,
let's see here. For the sake of this conversation, let's compartmentalize. Sure, let's start with relationships.
Man, you don't want to hear that from me. I'm a single, crazy,
You've always been single and crazy, though?
For the past 6 years?
Yeah.
Wait, not 6 years. Sorry. I dated someone for 5 years. I've been single for maybe 3 years, I think. I am a very, like, I love to have, like, a good intentional time.
Yeah.
I love to share time with people, whether it's, my friends who are male or femme or, whatever. And I think a lot of the times it's actually very scary for people in a relationship. Like they always, for me being like the single guy, embracing people who are obviously single as well.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there are people who are polyamorous who I've been in relationships with. But if we're just talking single, trying to hang out, a lot of the time, especially being in a place like Richmond, it's like, bro, if you got your shit together and you take someone out on like a nice date, like that's scary. That's too much for a lot of people because they think that you're like even going to like it's one of those very hedonistic places where you're kind of expected to do things that are a little more what's the word for it?
What are you saying right now?
Bro, what are you
what are you saying to me?
Bro,
right
like
now?
Me being somebody who likes to be intentional about time is hard in the world of being single because that implies that I'm trying to actually get into a relationship when I'm not. I actually just like to, again, have a nice intentional time. Okay. Yes. Okay. That is what I'm getting to.
Okay.
I have to go back to my city boy ways.
Yes. Yeah.
Just for the sake of being,
So your philosophy on women right now as a single person is you don't want to scare the hoes. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. There we go. But deep down, like, bro, if me and my homies want to go out, yeah, bro, I'll pay for a couple of drinks. We're gonna have open conversations about whatever.
Yeah.
Like shit, bro. I'll drive. Like really for anyone, you know what I mean? So, but that's a lot. That's a lot in a place like Richmond that has a lot of young people, a lot of college students, a lot of people who are just free thinkers. A lot, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot.
Really?
It's a lot, yeah. That's what I've noticed.
You've been single for, you said 6 years?
No, 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
I haven't been single in a while.
Yeah.
I could only imagine.
You want to go get Imani? Yeah. Appreciate you.
I can only imagine what single life is like. If you're telling me that setting intentional time without wanting like in deep relationships scares your potential time mates.
Time mates.
Right? That's what you're saying to me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that, and I'm like, I'm in a space right now where I think like romance is in a weird capitalistic place. It's funny how we always come back to the same spot.
I do like to blow a little check too.
I like to blow it back.
Don't
get into it. But I think that comes from me and you on the same page. I think that comes from like, I like to spend intentional time. I like to be very intentional about the things that I do. But if you're telling me that intention now is being coerced to like on discomfort, then what are you supposed to do? Like, how do you inspire? How do you be romantic, devoid of capitalism, and also without? I can't find a better term without scaring the hoes. Like, hello, hi,
how you doing?
We're just talking about romance, actually.
Oh, that's a thing, isn't it?
It is a thing.
That's a thing.
It is a thing. We're
That's a
talking
thing.
about romance. I was trying to get a better understanding from my friend Alex here, his philosophy on his new romantic venture. You want to
new? It's not new.
No, sorry, you're right. It's right new. You said it's not new.
And by the way, we never talk about this sort of stuff.
This
on
is
the
true.
podcast.
This is the first
This
time.
is
It's the first time.
The spirit of the Holy Spirit came before me and set the atmosphere. Love, romance.
That's sexy.
Okay, so what is romance? What is romance?
What is romance
to you?
To me.
Well, let's start it here. Alex was telling us in his not new single ventures, in his tenured single ventures, that setting intentional time with the ladies of Richmond often scares them away.
It does.
And so we started talking about romance because I'm like, I haven't been single for a while. But like when I was, it was very much set intentional time. Let's go on a date. Let's sit down at dinner. I thought that was the thing. Has it evolved, Alex?
I think or
devolved? I don't know.
Well, I also, Richmond is a college town. Richmond has a large population of young people. You know what I mean? So I think that plays into it. But yeah, it's a different world. Like, but to backtrack, romance to me is care. It's unconditional care. Whether things are difficult or easy, that's romance to me. And that can be with that goes into just your relationship with really anyone. Mm-hmm. But when it gets into like actual like legitimate romance is care. Yeah.
All right, Alex, I like care.
Personified, maybe, or care in an action.
Care personified, got you.
Yeah, like
right, because you can care and not show it on your face.
Yeah, or show it in your actions.
Right.
Because of fear, or because of ignorance, or because of inexperience, slash ignorance. But because I've known, I know a dear heart who cared really deeply about me when we were together or talking or whatever, but he didn't show it. And so then when things kind of hit the fan, it's like, oh, but I care so much.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get that. Yes. But what you did here, A, B, and C, didn't look like care to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, it quite look like care.
Yeah.
I'm in line with that as well. I think I go back to like the music definition of like romance, which is like the expression, passion, dynamic. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's when I think about romance, which kind of brings us to you. You know what I mean? One of the most romantic and dynamic voices, I think, within our generation. It's good to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on board.
Imani, what's up? What's going on?
Man, baby. I feel like I'm newly in I'm in a new music period, actually.
Really?
Myself. Yeah, with music and life.
Okay.
I feel like and I don't know if I could relate it to any of the other previous periods, like Romantic, Baroque, or anything. It's just a new day for me right now, and it's.
Well, that's exciting.
It is so exciting.
Yeah,
and it's also very intimidating.
Ooh.
Because I don't want to. One, I don't want to fumble.
Yeah.
Two, I don't want to misrepresent.
Yeah.
Why and how I got here
Yeah.
to this new stage in my life. But three, I still want to be very authentic to my present feelings right now. Like I want to be very present in the moment and very clear about that.
Right.
But I also need to be as clear as possible about how I got here.
That's interesting.
Which is a cool.
That's interesting because it doesn't. When I think about you, and I promise you, I'm just not trying to butter you up. I think about like supreme skill. So like, I couldn't imagine you being intimidated on a skill level. So what is the intimidation like? I want to authentically express what I'm feeling without compromise. And what is that? What are you compromising? What is that intimidation level on?
The intimidation is from knowing that I'm good.
Yeah.
But just now being able to express in everything I do outside of music, of my musicality, that I'm good.
Okay.
Like knowing the music, you know, or being on time to shows and call times.
Oh,
like,
okay.
You know, keeping my body in as prim and, you know, prime shape as possible to perform, not just look good, but to actually, you know, take care of my instrument and my vessel. And I haven't done all of those things for so many years.
Well, you know.
And so now that I'm in this new era and phase of my life where I can do those things,
Right.
and couple it with my musicianship, the intimidation comes with like falling back into old habits. You know, it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. And I also don't want to be too proud to where I forget to do the little things.
Gotcha.
You know, it's like God gave me a natural gift, but there's still a lot of practice that needs to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like I can sing on any stage, but there's still a preparation that is required for every stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, intimidation is just really inner, not so much what other people think.
Right.
Thankfully, at this big age, that don't matter as much.
That's good. No, that's really good.
Yeah.
It's more so just about making sure Imani Grace does what she needs to do to stay on her P's and Q's.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So are we still jazz?
Sure.
Okay.
I think
to me.
yeah, I think every derivative of black music has a bit of jazz in it.
Right.
Ooh.
So all American art forms come from the plantation, and from there came church music, and from there came blues and jazz and hip hop, rock and roll, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that will always be a part of me because it's so ingrained into I've been indoctrinated into the idiom, but now it's my truth.
Yeah.
You know, the song of the freedom, the song of the overcomer, the song of the you know, the lover. Those are all me now. So
Yeah.
I couldn't get rid of it if I tried.
Wow.
So me and Alex, we have a lot of electronic guests that come on.
Yes.
We've had a couple jazz drummers now.
Yeah,
jazz
man,
trumpeter and
a lot of
drummer
just
Corey Vonville was on here.
Technical musicians.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're our first, I would say somebody who can stick to a particular genre and has.
Yeah.
And I'll ask this question particularly. When I talk to jazz cats, they're very strict on what jazz is. This is jazz, this ain't jazz. But when we talk to a lot of these musical artists, the blending between these new genres is very loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you stand on like the strictness of forms of music? Do they does jazz have to be jazz? Do you have to be neo soul? Can everything be without genre, or should it be like our electronic music friends where it's like, you know, We speed it up. It's, what's the pop song? What's it called again? Hyperfunk, hypersong?
Hyperpop?
Yeah, whatever.
Hyperpop. Yeah.
I am in the middle, actually.
Okay.
I think there are styles and then there are genres. I think style can be anything. It could be a mishmash, posh of all of the above. And I think genre, though, is specific. Call a thing, and that's what it is. If you want to include something else, that's cool, it's cute, but that's still that thing. So to me, jazz it's part of my slang, but it's like the word nigga. It was used derogatory in a derogatory way, but because of what Black people do to everything, it became great.
Right.
And so even with the veil of complexity and theory and that, the oppressor tried to put on what jazz technically is, Black people were still like, nigga, please. This is jazz. This is jazz. And I use that word very specifically. I don't throw the word nigga around because it is near and dear to my heart. So I don't say it like to a friend like, oh, please. I'll say it within context of a Black person, my brother, but usually in a political sense.
I got you.
And so jazz is a song of politics. It's a song for the people, of the people, by the people. And so if you want to get into the specifics of it, there is a new movement that is saying jazz is dead. Yeah. So the idea that the term came from, the word initially was jazz, Jass.
Okay.
Like jive ass music. And so it was meant to be like, don't listen to that jazz, that mess, that noise, and like your cousins do. We were like, good.
Don't listen.
Please, thank you. And so then we made it real good and buttered it up so bad that they couldn't help but get their greasy paws on it. And then it became an art form.
Yeah.
And that's really why I'm a believer in the Holy Ghost, because it will come and manifest and change everything for the better, all the ways. And so God's people were like, this is ours. And you threw it out. You throw it out, just like they sell like pork skins in some of these fancy restaurants.
They do.
They do.
Oh,
Oh my goodness! I'm like, you mean pork skins?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's crazy.
It was a little while where the paleo bros were eating chitlins.
It'll be like $13.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
$13.
It's definitely $13. It's definitely $13.
So, yeah, that's what jazz is to me. It's like it's whatever we do.
Right.
And that's not to exclude white people
Of course.
or Latinos or anything else, because they're a part of the Black experience,
This is true.
as God intended. We're this human family thing. We have our tribes and vibes, but it's still it's a collective effort to how we got to where we are and to where we're going to go.
That's right.
So the idea of jazz is to always go forward, to always move ahead.
And they saying it's dead?
And so what they're saying is,
Who is these things?
Well-
Point them out.
I'll say there's some pretty prolific people in the music industry.
Oh, all right.
And especially in the world of quote unquote jazz, ironically enough. A friend of mine out of New Orleans named Nicholas Payton, who is a world-renowned trumpeter.
Third time he's come up in this podcast.
Oh,
My
well,
man was blown away. Weren't you at the festival?
I was at, we talked about this yesterday. I was at a DC Jazz Festival. Corey Fonville and some of the Butcher Brown
Oh, yes, he was in town for
boys.
that.
We're playing with Nicholas Payton. I was blown away. I brought my dad there.
Right.
Through Corey, we got, a little guest list.
Yeah, oh, nice.
And he had this dancer who was like hidden in the crowd who came out and he serenaded her.
Oh, love it.
Walked around. He had a wireless mic on his trumpet. I was not expecting. We were jaw dropped. So Nicholas Payton, shout out.
Yeah, that's my dude. That's my guy, and he pushes that a lot.
Oh, okay.
As well as some other folks, and the idea is that they're, in my opinion, it's kind of like who is it? Was it? Don't get me wrong. One of our great forefathers in the Black community who was trying really hard to get Black people to stop saying the N-word. Oh gosh.
Not Jesse Jackson. Not Al Sharpton. Not Dick Gregory.
It was either Al Sharpton or John Lewis.
Probably John Lewis on that Selma Bridge.
Okay.
Yeah. If I got my ass whooped in Selma, don't call me a nigga no more, okay? I'm just being for real. Don't call me a nigga no more, bro. I'm good.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's in that vein of like, yes, there is camaraderie with the term jazz,
right.
and yes, there is a you kind of got to be born in. You can't join in type of thing. But I think it's just as limiting it as it would be for me to not be able to use the N-word, it would be for me to not be able to say jazz.
Oh, I get it. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I see what you're saying.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. I get it. I get it. It's like okay, I get it. Okay, I get it. We can be jazz, but we are more than jazz.
For sure.
So, like,
yes.
I also have the thought that, like, Afrofuturism is dead because we did it 80 years ago.
Right.
Like the Afrofuture was 80 years ago. Now we should be experiencing something that's post the imagination of liberated Black voices. We are liberated Black voices. So what is like Black presentism? So I'm very interested to see what would be post jazz per se.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I love it because we truly are our ancestors' wildest dreams.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so what music has done and for the Black community and through the Black community for the greater good is amazing. Now, I was on stage 2 weeks ago with a symphony orchestra singing, singing music that in what I would call jazz.
Yeah.
As a Black woman who is a descendant of the enslaved and also royalty. And my father's uncle was the president of Liberia, and my mother's family were very proud, very strong, very hardworking sharecroppers, and then had their own land, of course. And so those types of moments are always so surreal to me. And I think it is because we as a people were able to take back the word jazz in such a tasteful way that those things can happen. And it's not shucking and jiving. I'm not in blackface. This is me. This is all of my people and the people to come. This is it.
Yeah. That sounds like a modern version of like some Jubilee singers. Oh, that's so beautiful. Like this is us. This is real.
Yes.
Take it.
Yes.
So BMO is way more familiar with a lot of your past work, but as someone who's newer to it, first thing that came to my mind when I listened to your music was church. Is there any sort of church influence in where you came up, or how you got into this beautiful voice that you've shared with everyone?
Yes, thank you. I'm glad that that's evident. I am a very proud believer, but I'm also a church baby. So my mother is a pianist, concert pianist, but wherever we moved to, DC is the 8th city I lived in by the time I was 18. Wherever we moved to, my mom was piano player and choir director. And she took me on her last international tour in Switzerland when I was 7 weeks old. And they performed Porgy and Bess. They were the first performance of Porgy and Bess in Switzerland. And so I feel like since then music has been in me. I've been in music. and then we left from Switzerland and we went to church. We went straight there. And it again is a part of the music. You can't take it out. You can try, but you absolutely cannot. Every American art form derives from Black music, which is the church.
True.
There's been arguments said even by, I think it was it Tank or some producer was saying online that a lot of what's missing out of R&B now.
It's church.
Come on, it's the church.
What's that little nigga name? That was with Janet Jackson. What's his name?
Dupree.
There you go. They still said it. Jermaine Dupree.
Yes.
Sorry, Jermaine. I had to get you. You get my bad.
Oh gosh, I'm mad that helped me.
He did. Like, oh yeah. Jermaine Dupree. Yeah. He did say that recently. I was about to ask you that. Like, do you think that's true? Like,
yeah. Oh, for sure.
The church not only is the religious and spiritual center, but also like education space for the musical space.
And that's how it was from jump.
Yeah.
On the plantation, the church was the learning grounds for people to learn how to read. Was the learning grounds for people to learn how to listen and obey.
I know. Yeah.
We don't like to talk about that, but
also gotta survive.
it is a necessary evil. We take the evil out of it, and there is an art form to being able to listen, receive, and output what you need to do, not what necessarily is being forced down your throat, but being able to see and or hear, receive, and interpret for yourself, and then do what's necessary. And that's a thing in musicianship. On the bandstand, you have to be able to listen and hear what's going on between you and the rest of the band and the audience.
Yeah.
Feel the vibe, receive it, and then output out of obedience what's necessary for the performance to have the best outcome. And that's what a lot of people, I think, are missing in new age R&B. It's the call and response with the spirit, not just the musicality, but being able to be like, because we have all this information. I feel like a lot of singers are informed, not just singers, but a lot of musicians know the theory or know how to get by, and they can do the thing. It's just a matter of being able to kind of read the room in a sense and respond and pull and draw.
That's definitely new.
The thing, the emotion, the one of the things people say most when they hear me sing is like, oh my gosh, she just touched me so much.
Right.
And I'm like, thank you oh my gosh. Because I'm not doing anything that I'm not used to, which is just responding to the spirit, responding to what's necessary. Discernment is a gift that is built out of, it's given to you, to each and every person by portion of what's, how God calls you to have discernment, but then you can grow your discernment.
Of course.
So that being able to read, like I don't want to keep saying that, but read a room, read the energy, read what people might be responding to and or thinking even or feeling, coupled with all of what's going on in the world, it creates a relatability that only the spirit really can interpret.
I love how you say that there is a level of like God-given talent, but also things that you can do to enhance that talent. So we've went from Switzerland to the church, you learned in the church,
Yes.
and then tell me how we get to where we met.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of theater growing up. When we lived in Orlando, I worked for PBS Studios in Orlando.
Okay, all right. We've got enough cities now. You got to give me the 8. You got to give me the 8 cities. Go ahead, list them off.
I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Then we moved to Orlando, Florida. Then we were in Erie, Pennsylvania. Then Gahanna, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio. St. Charles, Missouri. Then Cumming, Georgia. And then I moved to
I didn't know we had this in common.
Oh, yeah.
I was born in Alexandria, moved to Jackson, Tennessee, Jefferson City, Missouri.
Oh, come on.
Not Jackson, Greenwood, Mississippi, Tallahassee, Florida, and then Myrtle Beach and New Orleans.
Wow.
And then here, of course.
Wow.
Yeah. Look at us.
Yes, sir.
I'm just from Alexandria. That's it.
That's cool too, though.
Yeah.
Because I so often wish I
was from a place.
When people ask me where I'm from, I'm like, well, I was born in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And then the reach back too is really, really something I feel like I'm longing for, missing, because, you know, when I was doing all this moving around, we didn't have Facebook and Instagram to keep up with people. So when I moved, it was bye. You know?
I might call you that one time I get to the new city.
And then,
that's it.
Yeah, so.
Have you ever like remembered someone's full name and looked them up now on Facebook? Like now that you have the technology?
Yes.
I did that when Facebook came out.
Yeah.
I started looking at my old friends from back in the day. Yes. Where's Mike Woods at? That was my guy.
Yeah. Kylie Richardson. If you ever see this or hear this, girl, I'm thinking of you. God bless you. I haven't seen her since like 6th grade, but.
I love that.
No, I feel it. These incomplete stories that we have with people are so crazy.
Yeah, because especially in adolescence or childhood, we have so little say in what goes on in our life, which is a blessing. But if there were people in my and Kylie's lives who realized, you know, or who had the forethought of like, they're going to want to know how each other are doing in the future. Let's make sure they stay in touch.
Right.
Because kids, I mean, we could take that initiative, but like, really,
I'm also 12. I'm also 12, bro.
So, yeah. But yeah, those are the cities I lived in.
All right, but you were in Orlando. That's where we were in Orlando and you were learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of, trial by fire. I remember I think it was either the second to last or last time I was at the studio. I was maybe the oldest or second oldest child in that segment, and we couldn't have been more than 6 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 or 6. And they were like, okay, you guys, so we're going to do a bit about Barney. And I was like, Barney's for babies, trying to be cool, right? I will never be so ignorant ever again in my life in front of agents and booking people and producers, because that was I think that might have been the last time they called me. They're like, oh, okay.
No, you're right.
Cool.
Get this guy out of here.
All right.
That's funny.
You know,
Dang, Barney.
Things like that. I'm so grateful for life experiences to get me to where I am now, of humility and appreciation and understanding that everybody's got a boss. You know, we all a job is gonna get done. Whether we participate or not. So learning how to not only appreciate my position, but honor it. So that when I do become a boss, when I do have musicians and I say, we're going to do this easy little blues, they're not saying, blues.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of like, hey, okay, we on stage though. Like, can you just play the song? So, so I've learned so much. Okay, so that was Orlando. Then when I got to high school, I did a lot of theater in high school, so I became a part of the National Thespian Honor Society. But
as
I also
one
played
does.
sports.
I said, as one does.
Yes,
Yeah, of course. And now,
Yes.
after high school, you're going to
Howard University.
That's right.
BHU, the Mecca. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about Howard. And I tell young people when trying to decide if and where to go to college, because college is an option now, a real option. You want to go where you're going to grow, but also where you're going to be taken care of.
Right.
And I've had so many opportunities post-graduation via Howard University. There's been our network, for one, the Howard Network is amazing.
Yeah.
It's worldwide, and it's in every arena, every platform, and on every level, from the most executive to the most interim. So I love my HBCU for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I got a chance to study with phenomenal people.
Yeah, you did.
My main instructor, my first jazz instructor, was Jessica Boykin-Settles, who is a singer in the area, and she's just great. She's a patient and loving instructor, very knowledgeable, and then my instructor after her. My main instruction was from Kanatra Miller, who is just par none as far as vocal clinicianist, and who can just really tell you everything you need to know about the voice as an instrument. I remember one time I was in a lesson with her, and she broke down what was going on with my voice, because I was kind of hoarse for something, and she just heard me, and she was like, okay. And then she told me to do like one or two things, and it was fixed. And I was like, wow, okay. So I've been affirmed for my decision to go to Howard countless times.
Good.
Yes, indeed.
My when I left Howard, I moved to New Orleans to teach, and then I moved back. But when I moved back, that's when I say I actually moved to DC, because Howard itself is a little bubble. I didn't know. Talk about Butcher Brown. So I'm hearing the story of Butcher Brown, and they're all coming from what college? Virginia State?
VCU.
VCU. Yep. I didn't know other schools did what I saw at Fine Arts all the time. When did you find out? When did you find out that outside of these walls, probably you were Howard, because you were like a superstar. But anyway, when did you find out that in other places were other genius musicians that you could partner and pair with?
I don't remember. Oh, it was a school in Texas. I can't remember what school it was, but Afro Blue did a collaboration with their choir, and they were killing. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Guess I'll go practice. Because I was like, ain't no way.
You got cracked on.
No, we didn't get cracked on, but I'm a very proud Black woman.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everything about being Black. And I am no way, shape, or form ever going to be out-blacked. So in no way these wonderful students are going to out-jazz me. So that's when I started actually diving more into the genre. I was like, okay, I'm paying money to get a degree in jazz, and spent too much time complaining that we weren't doing enough other genres.
Right.
So I was like, okay, let me hang that up and study this right here, get this good. But yeah, that was when I realized that outside of Howard, there is still excellence, I guess, a little.
Very Howard statement.
Okay.
I guess, yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about music that you've released.
Okay.
So you have King.
Yes.
Is there anything else I'm missing there?
No.
Okay.
So here's the thing with music that I have released and that I'm going to release. I mentioned growing up in theater, being a performer, and that has been my strongest suit thus far. And I really did not appreciate the whole other craft that it is to be a recording artist and to be a producer and to be an arranger. All of those things, all of those hats were new to me when trying to like put out a song. So I'd have these songs that I loved that went over extremely well and in concert, and people like, oh my gosh, I love that song better. Oh my gosh, I love that song. Maybe can I order it? Can I get this? And I'm like, no, because I had not developed that skill yet. So to that point, I've taken some time to study the recording process and intros and outros, bridges, instrumentation, mixing, all the things that make a record.
Right. A whole record.
A whole complete record. It's not just about having a good song. So that being said, I am so excited to be working with some more experienced producers as well. And in collaboration, we'll be releasing some music. Hopefully, fingers crossed, before November for the first single, and then definitely January. We have a rollout for January. Done features for people like Warren Wolf and I think Pete Muldoon and goodness, names are escaping me right now, but
yeah, completely fun. You know, I actually I don't even mention that you only have one release to mention that you only have one release. It's really that I listened, and it was actually really funny. It made me think about where you recorded this and how you recorded it, because it sounded so crisp. I have a 2004 Volvo.
Nice.
It has a really nice sound system.
Yes, sir.
But if something is low quality, I can tell. If something is high quality, it sounds like just musical genius, amazing, just crisp. So that made me think, I'm like, man, how are other people doing things? Because it really made me think, I'm like, maybe, you know, Imani needs to go give some other people some recording lessons, because, especially vocalists, because it really, really made me think twice about the other recordings I had listened to when it comes to vocals. So, like, what was that process like? Where did you record it?
So, actually, I don't think I've ever mentioned this before. When I released King, it was because my 30th birthday was coming up, and that was my gift to myself. I was like, just put something out, girl. It doesn't have to be perfect. And so I picked literally what I thought was the easiest song I had that I could do with just one instrument. And I asked my homie if he could just do this song for me. And oh my gosh, I'm trying to. No, I had to, because I want to shout him out. Jordan Chase, and he was like, okay, yeah, my homie's got a situation. We could just record in his basement. Like, we get to kick his kids out the basement, and
They'll be all right.
and I'm such a respecter of people and their time and their space. So I was like, we'll be real quick, I promise you, because I didn't pay him for the space, for the time. And so we did it. I sang it in one take, literally just sang it down once. And I was like, no, it's fine, I promise. Because it was just something I just wanted to get out. It was not supposed to be my only song for 3 years. And so, yeah, that was King. I was like, I have this song. When I sing it, people like it. It's easy. Jordan can play it real easy. Yeah. And then I had my friend Howard also, Peter Roberts.
Oh, yeah.
Mastered it. Yeah. He mixed it and mastered it for me. And he added in some like synth bass to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that just
look at that.
Elevated the tune like that. And I wasn't even expecting that. And it turned out great. And, I don't even know if the song has made any money online, but, it's there. That's what it is. But it makes me so appreciative of people like Quincy Jones, people like, the folks who have put out such masterful works that are so intricate. That process that I went through to do King was nothing. So I could only imagine, the hours and the personnel required to do an album like Thriller.
Oh my goodness!
It's
in
like
the 80s too.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do that in nobody's basement. That was a whole separate building on the other side of town for Thriller. Oh my goodness! Yeah, it's crazy.
So I'm just, and like I said, a respecter of persons. So I it's hard for me to call myself a producer when I think about people like that. And but then also I'm an artist, and I'm very sensitive about my ish. Right. And so I'm not great at delegating and saying like, okay, do this. Or if you do this, what you do will be good. I'm going to hire you to do that part, and I'm relinquishing that to you. So I was like, okay, no, I just need to practice some stuff.
Well, I never would have imagined that was recorded in a basement. But it really shows, especially for anyone listening, you got to mix and master your music. Yes. People are skipping that step left and right.
And quality gear. A good microphone will take you to the moon.
Mm-hmm. It's very important. So congrats.
Thank you.
Because, and on top of it, your voice is golden. So that's really what carried it on, But really, mixing and mastering is super key. at the end of the day, a lot of people don't even understand that you need to listen to a mix in multiple places when on multiple speakers, in cars, on AirPods, on really bad headphones, on a Bluetooth speaker. A lot of people are skipping these steps. And it's like,
of course.
Then, you know, you're going to release this song. It's going to get in the car. It's going to sound super low. Yeah. Or, you know what I mean? Yeah. People are just skipping over these kinds of steps. So all hats off.
Because we know why. People are making products. They're not making art.
Correct.
True.
Right? I want to go back to something you said right before you started talking about making original music, which was you appreciate performing. And so I have to ask you, and I think you might give us a unique perspective. One of my favorite question on the show. What's your relationship with Luther Vandross?
I didn't appreciate Luther, unfortunately, until he passed.
Really?
Yeah. I knew he was great, but I hadn't really experienced his wonderfulness until I got a little older. And then I was like, oh my gosh. Not only his musicality and as far as like approach, but his actual instrument is just, oh my goodness, butter. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think between Luther, Whitney, and oh gosh, talk about voices. I'll just leave it there. Between those
it's hard
two,
to put other people next to that.
Yeah.
I put maybe Freddie Mercury, but like.
But the actual instrument, like even without any of the riffs and thrills and things that they can do, just what comes out of them is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. When I think of, oh gosh, a chair is not a chair.
Yeah. House is not a home, baby. Woo! Oh, wow.
He doesn't do a whole bunch of riffs and runs, but just the timbre, the texture, it's, yeah, I throw my hands up.
I love it. I love that. Okay.
What draws you to Luther?
What draws me to? Okay, so we've been talking to a lot of electronic guests.
Okay.
And one of our first guests said to us, "All the great melodies have been made, so why would I make a new one?" And in my head, the first person came in my head was like, Luther Vandross would not agree with you. And that doesn't, even if he never like wrote many original songs, that still wouldn't agree with you that melody cannot be original. So I just started asking that question to each of our guests, and depending on our guest, we had our youngest guest had no idea who that was. But he had his girl with him, and I sent him a Luther Vandross song that he could drive home to. I don't know if he did, but he should have. He might have. But that's what draws me to Luther, is just like this supreme use of voice, the creation of melody, and then R&B singers are ridiculous people. So like while on House is Not a Home, he's calm. Yeah. On other songs,
and the divinity of music is endless.
Yeah.
That's the power of it. There will never be an end of it. It will never be
right.
Ever. It'll go on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's true.
And which is why it's so important for people to have some type of foundation in music, because, okay, our bodies are temporary, but our spirits go on, and they touch what's to come. So what we do in the now is going to affect people to come after us.
Very true.
And if you don't have that divinity within you, in your step, in your walk, in everything that you do, you're going to tarnish something for someone in some type of way. You're going to be out of touch in some capacity. So when they take, and I joke with some of my audience members, and, I'll say like, you hear people sing happy birthday, and like, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. And that's like very sad because the happy birthday melody is very easy, but it's also very natural.
Yeah.
It was is what makes it do 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 do. Those intervals exist within the human form, within the human body, so much. The frequency of the pulse of how our blood flows and how our nerves interact with each other, and then when we touch and agree, and how those nerves transfer. Those intervals are happening within us. They happen within the in the ground.
Yeah.
And so if you're so out of touch with that you can't relate, like I said, it'll keep you out of touch for many things. And then there are debates about whether or not there should be a ceasefire. And then there are debates about whether or not we need to send aid to the Congos. Then there's debates about whether or not it's okay to elect a human being who
that was very generous.
See what I'm saying? Who intentionally sends hate speeches on groups of humans.
Right.
So yeah, we need music in the schools. We need music
we do.
In the workplace. We need music in everything. I think it'll help temper so many evils in the world. And we've seen it work before. So I'm not sure why that's so revolutionary. It literally helped with the connection with white allies and the enslaved. Back, This Little Light of Mine was a song about slaves seeing lights outside of safe homes of white people. The civil rights movement had music to help, white people understand the struggle and strife.
Yeah.
The hip hop era helped white people understand the deprivation of the little black boy. So it's like so many times we've seen music be the bridge.
Yeah.
And now, and so that is why, though, very literally why the evils of the world want to get rid of it. So I have a very strong passion for the advocacy of music, but live art and entertainment in general.
Absolutely.
Because it does endorse holism. It supports the connection. It supports the godly framework of mortality, and how we're put together and how we're meant to intertwine with people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I have one last question.
Okay.
Because I've always wanted to know this. So I'm an instrumentalist. I learned to play the saxophone. When I think of the note F, I see the fingering of F on the saxophone. Like when I close my eyes and I think F, that's what pops up. It's 1, 2, 3, and 1. That's an F. I've always wanted to know, as a vocalist, like there are no buttons to push, there are no slides, there are no nozzles. So when you think F, like, what makes you get to F? Like, is there a pathway? Is there a thought? Is there a color? Is there a vibration? I'm been so curious. Like, how do you know?
Yeah. Well, it depends, right? So if you just ask me to sing an F, thankfully I have relative pitch, so if ever necessary for me to just randomly sing one note. But a lot of times, what's important for vocalists and all musicians to realize is that it's all relative. It's within relationship.
Okay.
So it's not that important for a singer to know F, but it is important for a singer to know the complete tonality of a half step.
Yeah.
Or a whole step.
Got you.
Or a third.
Yeah.
Or a fifth. So that happy birthday doesn't happen like happy birthday. So it doesn't matter what key it's in. It's just as long as it's
whatever.
it's just as long as, like, I think that's an F right there. I'll never need that. Right?
Right.
Thankfully. Because even if I go to sing something a cappella, I can sing it in whatever key is comfortable for me at the time.
Right. Nobody's in the crowd like, F!
You know, with their pitchfork, like, no, ma'am.
Yeah.
That song is actually in B flat, and you are third off. Thankfully, that is not the world we live in.
Right.
But yeah, relation and that's not to beat a dead horse, but it is again the divinity of music. You know, it's not so important literally what you say. Like Maya Angelou said, they won't always remember what you said, but how it made them feel. And so even if I'm a little off key, if it's good, it's good.
It's good, right?
You know?
Yeah.
So, but it is still very important to tune the instrument. I remember when I was an undergrad and I was singing Afro Blue, and I was the top soprano after Mariah Maxwell, who is
phenomenal,
a heck of a singer. And not just a singer, but her instrument is also very pure, very beautiful. So I was working real hard to try to get my part right. And the piano that I was using in the practice rooms was sharp. Or no, excuse me, was maybe just off from the piano that was in the rehearsal space that we used for Afro Blue.
Oh.
So week after week, Miss Miller was like, Imani, you are sharp. And I'm like, no, the rest of y'all are flat.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. Again, like if I'm in key or tune or whatever, it's the relationship. So I started practicing in our rehearsal space. I'm like, oh, bump that.
Yeah.
Y'all not about to have me out here looking like boo boo da boo. But it's so important for instruments to tune to the room.
Yeah.
So every time when you hear the orchestra start up and they have to tune, because they're tuning to each other, they're tuning to the room. You know, when a band goes to start playing, then somebody might ask the piano player to, play an A, so the bass can tune to that. Even the drummers pitch their instruments to what's to the room. So yeah, I think we're, to our earlier point, losing a lot of the spirituality in music. And we saw that with the streaming boom that happened during the pandemic. And now audiences are just absolutely sick to know and see when they go to concert and see and hear these people that they had loved so much. Their recording was so wonderful. Yeah. And then they go to the show and they're just so disappointed. They're like, what?
Wow.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's happened so often. I mean, the whole industry is just upside down because they realize it's back to the performer. It's the ball is back in the court of the musician.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even with the wave of AI, which I think personally I'm dead in the middle with the use of AI, because I think there is a beautiful beautiful road ahead to what can be, especially in the right hands. But I think it is I do believe it's going to be a way for people to take advantage, because how I say this. Okay, example. In the DC area, there are a lot of musicians who tour.
Yes.
Yeah. They go out on the road, they do their thing. When they come off of tour, when they take a gig, if they're working a lot, they don't mind so much the $100, $200 window gig.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
Because they're working.
Of course.
But then to the musician that is not touring, they're like, how can I need more than $100 for this 4-hour gig. So the touring musician kind of watered down the market. The parallel on the streaming or the AI side, it is using the musicianship of actual musicians to create these songs and sounds. And then when a real musician goes to make a song, producers are like, well, I got this AI generated thing for a subscription of $30 a month or $200 a month. Why should I pay you? And then you get a percentage too?
Yeah.
No way. I'm gonna use this AI thing. I don't have to pay that AI no type of percentage, and it's mine. Mm-hmm. But then there are actual geniuses, composers and arrangers that, are due their coin, are due their representation, also their recognition. But I have a fear that there will not be room for them.
Yeah, we've brought a couple of those points up on this podcast in the past. My hope is that with exactly what you just said, a lot of the people who are still making those beautiful pieces, it's actually going to become more valuable. Which, that's my hope, though.
That's a good thinking. Hope. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good hope.
Yeah, it is. No, it really is.
Yeah.
The thing I fear though is the aspect of greed and how.
Yeah, that's where it is.
Yeah, and how some people won't care that it's more valuable. They will skip over that and let that be a $20,000 piece of artwork somewhere in somebody's closet and go off and produce 40, 100, or 400 or crazy amount of this $20 piece of art, and the powers that be will promote and pump that. Mm-hmm. But I'm a person of hope, so I like that.
Yeah. Because to the greedy people, it is like, ugh. Yeah. But if you get AI in your hands, if you can figure out how to make it a tool in your bag, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
And I'm in the middle on it too. I as we've said, AI is a tool.
It's a tool.
You can use it as a tool. You can, do the monotonous tasks that are pointless and throw them to AI, and then maybe that gives you more space to do things that, take a little more time.
Yeah. And there's always going to be the the question of whether a robot did it or not, and the verification, validation of real musicianship, and
that happened on the stage though, baby.
Yeah,
you can do what you need to do in the studio, but if I come to the room,
yeah. Or I mean, even just the way technology is going, there's people have used it for so many excuses behind it. Like, what's your man, NFL player who was on live? What is
Shannon Sharp?
Did he try to say it was a glitch or something?
Come on, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that kind of thing where it's like, okay, but was it really?
Right.
And then the same with on the music tip, if something is a flop or something, somebody it was AI released some of my stuff. I wasn't even done with it or something. I don't know.
Sure. Sure, Drake. Sure. Whatever you need to say, man. AI, brother. Yeah, sure.
But I'm curious of the masterminds of the Kanyes, how he would use it. Those are the type of people I'm excited for, about it for.
Yeah. I think someone like Kanye would be super against it, to be honest.
Yeah, you think?
I think so.
Possibly.
If we could pitch to Kanye that he could chop his samples faster with AI, maybe.
You know how long Kanye takes to make music?
That's what I'm saying.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah.
So you tell him, hey brother,
just put your timestamps in and it got you. I promise you. No, that nigga chill. No, I'm chopping by piece.
Yeah.
So you never know. That's the beauty of this art is it's ever evolving, and there's very few predictions. I thought we were going to be in a musical renaissance. Art renaissance, really, after pandemic. I was thinking it was gonna be like the Roaring '20s. Mm-hmm. I was like, the streets are just gonna be filled with people doing art, and they're gonna be just.
If it's compressed, it's gonna explode.
It's gonna explode, and all this artistry is just gonna be bleeding out of the people's pores, and. Mm-hmm. No. We were so gung ho on getting back. We were so gung ho on finding normalcy I think, which was a damning thing.
Yeah.
That was, I think, that was so simple of humans to think, we're just trying to get back to normal.
Yeah, let's try to get back to normal. Yeah.
Yeah, I ain't thought about that before. We should have changed.
We should have changed
evolved.
so much.
Yeah, we should have evolved. That's a
Oh
good
my
one.
gosh.
We had to. We were forced to.
Yeah.
We were what? You said
Forced
forced.
to, yes.
Yes. And that is one of the most sickening things to me about the way our democracy is ran, is that it is based on fear, and it is based on regulation and regularity instead of freedom and creativity and evolution.
Yeah.
And instead we just figure out new ways to shackle folk. It's sickening. It's like during the pandemic, I got a box from the President of the United States for as a relief package, and the incentive of the package was that it was from local based farms, and so it was doing good by the government subsidizing these farms and sending out goods to the people. But it was a box of dairy products from a dairy farm during a global health pandemic. And they know that dairy is not good for the sick.
No, it's
It's not even good for the healthy, but it is really not good if you have an issue with your respiratory system.
Creating phlegm, just juicy.
Just like, and so I'm like, oh, they really hate us. Like, oh, okay, cool. Cool.
That's
Good
crazy.
to know.
Yeah.
But because they were so intent on implementing normalcy instead of a new regime of health, a new regime of lifestyle, a new attitude around holism and around taking care of the body so that we don't put ourselves in this situation again. They were saying, no, let's send them powdered milk. So
Wow.
I really hope that it does not take another tragedy for us to, and I see it more and more. Folks are waking up. There's been more waves of people to step up and say, what's what on major platforms without, the fear of being knocked down by the quote unquote man. But I think like whose innocent child is it going to be to suffer from ADHD that they say that Congress says, okay, we're taking out these artificial dyes out of children's food?
I don't know.
Whose child is it going to be that makes them say, okay, you know what, enough is enough? Mm-hmm. Or whose mother is it going to be to die prematurely of a very curable ailment?
Yeah.
Or who's it going to be? Because right now we're just offering up these people as almost sacrifice. Like,
yeah, really.
Just go out, just live your life. They'll figure it out one day.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Oh my gosh.
Damn.
But it's going to be some unfortunate innocent child, and somebody's going to be like, oh my gosh, my child is sick because of the food that is so readily available and promoted. Mm-hmm. Or, oh my gosh, it's my mother struggling with dementia, or my mother struggling with type 2 diabetes or hypertension. Maybe I should be maybe okay, Congress,
maybe it's time to switch it up now.
Let's switch it up.
Yeah.
Like I'm so proud of California. They just recently passed another bill, no artificial dyes and colorings in the public school system. Lunches, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
It's great, yeah.
And I can't see why that's not. How are we so disconnected to like see that happening and not be like, that has to be the norm for the whole nation, for the whole world. Why is it that we can see that happening over there and be like, oh, good for California, and not be like,
Yeah.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh, okay, we all need to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I feel so called to music and to performance and to sing, and I think it is because it is the tool God has given me to speak up and say some things, and to also to be a relatable source to my brothers and sisters.
Thanks for listening, y'all. If you get a chance to subscribe, like, download, and follow, we really appreciate it. You can find us on Instagram at the Re-Up, ODCAST. You can also find us on Patreon for exclusive content. New episodes every other Thursday. Thanks for your trust. Appreciate y'all.